Welcome to another episode of the Clean Palette Podcast. I'm your host, Justice Johnson. Today, we peel back the paint and reveal the clean palette on the artist's perspective of how I would honestly want to let you introduce yourself. Where can they find you? What's your name?
You can find me everywhere if you spell my name correctly. That's what I tell everybody. My name is Kollet. My business name is Kollet Originals. And then I just started on TikTok, and somebody told me you should use your real name. And so I'm Kollet Hardiman there. So I just tell everybody, if you spell my first name right, you'll find me somewhere or everywhere. Kollet. Sorry, I didn't need to clarify that.
Well, Kollet, what is your medium of choice? Let's start it out real simple. What do you like to use?
I am in a paint phase right now. I've been at it so long, it's an ebb and a flow for me. I swing between genres because I get bored, as most people do. Right now, I am in Sherwin-Williams latex paint world. I love spray paint. I really, really love my street rat life. And so I will go back and forth between those two worlds. But yeah, I mean, I do it all. Right now, latex.
Right now, latex. And how did you get into artwork? In just creativity in general, let's say. Were you kind of brought into it, or did you kind of find it yourself? How did you kind of get started?
I had a very hard childhood. It was a very, very toxic environment that I was in, and it was my refuge. And it's always been that. There was just a lot of drinking and violence, and so I would hide away, and I would draw, and I would paint. I would go out. I remember I would go out behind the house where the hose would drain the wash machine, and it would make this mud. I took this red clay mud and painted my first mural on the side of this outhouse. And so it's just something that poor people do when there's nothing to do. And so that's what I did. And then what I noticed was when I finished whatever it was that I was doing, I would go show my mom and dad, and it would immediately diffuse the fight. And so I was like, oh, this is doing something to their psyche as well. And so it just it propagated that way, and I just kept doing it.
When you were younger and you did those mud paintings, did any of them get you in trouble?
It didn't immediately until they tried to wash it off, and it was red clay. It didn't come off. And I was like, okay. And I remember I was 14. I painted a vine around the ceiling. I thought I was Michelangelo. I painted the ceiling of my bedroom. It's been 25 years and it's still there because I used the wrong paint. So yeah, I have gotten in trouble a few times because of my material choices.
I only asked that because when I was younger, I found a magnet on the ground, and I painted a mural, or I made a mural on my dad's car with a magnet. So I basically keyed his entire car.
Nice.
And it was a landscape portrait all the way around. There were people, there were hills, there was a sun in the corner, and he had just bought the car. That's the only reason I ask if you got in trouble, because I know art can.
You didn't find art. Art found you. If you were scraping your father's car, you were an OG.
That was at about.
That's legit.
That was at about 5 years old. So I found
That's awesome.
I thought it was like chalk. I was writing with chalk on his car. It turned out it was scraping away all of the paint off of his brand new black car. So that was
that is great.
A nice little introduction to the art world.
That's all right. You get to be a rich, famous artist, and you'll buy him a brand new black car. But like, your dad, I told you it's gonna come through one day.
I hope so. So how would you describe your art style to somebody who has never seen you before?
Loud.
Very loud. Bold.
Very loud. But with my colors, it's expression, it's colors. I can tell you that I'm trained in pop art, realism, surrealism, pointillism. I've done it all. And I have found that I have an aggressive style and color use in all of them. So I think if I was to label myself as an artist, it would be aggressive and loud. Not with feeling, not with emotion. It's just my hand. I have what do they call it? I have a deliberate technique. That's what I'll say.
So were you trained in school, or like did you go to school for art, or did you kind of learn through trial and error?
Um, well, I learned, I went through high school
Okay.
and did all of the art classes that I could. I remember there was a thing that was an art academy, and they'd send you a mail-in art test. And it was a trifold piece of paper and send it back. And these art professors would grade it. And I'm like 12 or 13. And one of them is put your pen down and draw a tree. Okay, you do that. Don't lift your pen up. And then the next one, be draw a portrait or copy this or finish the right side of the face. So anyways, I turned it in and they send it back and I got like a 98. And I'm like, ooh, that means I've been validated by these professional artists. So I went deep at around 12 into art. I was like, okay, this guy through the mail told me I was going to be fantastic.
So you went right in.
But then it came to high school. I dove in. And I was a ball player too. And I turned my, and I was good, but I left that. I was like, I don't want to play ball anymore. I want to paint. I want to draw. I want to be an artist. And so I went in deep. But I sent my portfolio out to colleges. I sent it to SCAD and Ringling because I was in Florida. So I wanted to see on the Southeast. And my father had just died. So I spent the better part of my junior year in high school painting homages to my father and putting him in trees and sheets and candle wax, like just drawing every version of my dad in mourning that I could.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't translate really well. It felt too artsy and too forced. If you were to receive a portfolio of one man painted 5 different ways, I think there was a little disconnect between what I was wanting and what I was delivering to the school. So the short answer is I got like a 3 on my artist portfolio on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best. And I was like, shit, that's not good. And I had a full paid scholarship. So I went to college to be an art history teacher. And then I dropped out like a semester later. I was hooked on crack. True story. So it didn't end well. I just got completely demoralized and I started using drugs. It's tragic, actually.
Did that change your art perspective at all? Like, not to dive too deep into that phase of your life, but did that alter the way you kind of looked at art? Like, because I imagine that you were still kind of
100%. Now, mind you, this is
I think
from high school. So
I think you broke up for a little bit there.
College, and this is the generation.
I think you broke up for a little bit there. Can you
I graduated from high school at 17 with a scholarship. So I started. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. You are all set. Go for it.
Hello?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Okay. So I graduated a year early to go to college. Yeah, I can hear you. You're kind of scattered. Are you good now?
I am good. Let me put on my.
Well, we're gonna skip forward.
Let me put on my hotspot real quick. It might be a little shaky for a little bit, and I can edit out this portion of this this little hiccup. I'm in a very weird spot in a dead zone here.
Yeah, that's good because you can probably edit out that whole crack story.
Let me see here. Alrighty. Let me see. Are we still good? Are we still connected?
I'm here.
Okay. Let me let it load a little bit, see if it clears up a little bit.
I'm honestly open about the drug use. Don't feel uncomfortable because I do not. Okay. Just giving you a little blurb. A lot of us fight with it. And so I appreciate other artists knowing it's normal.
Getting rid of the stigma.
Yeah. Good. A lot of us were thinkers and feelers and we fell into that trap. And I think that devalues some of us sometimes. At least that's what I hear a lot from other artists. Like, well, I did XYZ. I'm a felon. So what? You're still a fantastic fucking artist. Go do your shit.
Well, I appreciate that. That's what I kind of did. I don't know if you saw or listened to the podcast last week with Kim Holm. Yeah, that guy
has like 350,000 followers on TikTok.
400,000 now. But but yeah, we tried to
catch up with him.
We tried to get rid of the stigma around mental health a little bit.
I did see that. Yeah.
And so I'm glad that you're opening up a little bit, but let's hop right back into your story and how art and that phase of your life kind of changed the way you looked at it.
Sure. So, okay, let me reframe this though, because in 99, I was graduating from college, and that is when the tech industry was booming, which also means computer art, computer graphics, computer science. Everything that is done on the PC was taking over, and the purest form of art was being lost. So at that point, I was told not only is it hard to be an artist, it's really hard now, and you're a woman. So it's not in the cards. So I abandoned art. I was 99. I was 17, 18. I just said, fuck it. I had an academic scholarship. So like I said, I was going to learn art, teach art, and that was going to be it. And it made me miserable. I didn't realize what it was doing to me. I didn't realize that not producing artwork was essentially me ending therapy abruptly. And I did fall deep into alcohol, drugs, everything. And I stayed there in that endless pit for about 13 years. So fast forward, 33, which was 5.5, 6 years ago, I checked myself into rehab. I'd finally had enough. And in rehab, you got to think after 13 years of just getting high, you don't even really remember what turned you on as a kid. You don't really remember a lot of things. You function, and that's about as much as you get. You eat, you drink, you stay alive, and you get high. So when I'm in rehab, I started to just want to draw. My hands were shaking like crazy. So I just started drawing again. And then I was like, oh shit, I used to like this. And that synapse started firing, and the endorphins and dopamine started going. Before I knew it, I felt good when I drew. And I hadn't felt good. I'd been numb for so long. So it was almost a euphoria that was happening when I was drawing. Meditation, therapy, all those great things. But there was something firing deep in my brain that was like, oh shit, this is good. This is that good. And I remember it. And so 6 years now, I've been clean.
Well,
and I
congratulations.
have been painting and drawing every single day. I do go on vacation every once in a while, and even then I'm doodling on it now. So I started a business 6 years ago called Addicted to Art, and that was my hashtag for the longest, and we rock it. I rock it every day.
Nice. So curious, at what point would you say that your art really started taking off as it was becoming a business? So I know you said you started the business 6 years ago, but when did people really start gravitating towards your artwork?
Part of the contingency of being in rehab, I checked myself into rehab for 6 months. It was that I had a job. So I got a job. And I worked full time, and I did art full time. And I didn't fit in society. I couldn't go out and drink. I couldn't go out and hang out. I couldn't go to the bars, couldn't go dancing. So I stayed home and I drew. And I started posting on social media in 2015. It took me 1 year of posting. And now I'm just drawing puppies and people, like we see a lot of the TikTok artists doing right now, drawing puppies and people. I did that for 1 year before I matched my salary at my employer.
Okay.
I did it another 6 months and stacked a little bit of cash. And then I left my job. And so I monetized it a year after producing it on social media. And then it's grown twofold each year going since. Quickly. It's grown pretty quickly, actually.
I'm curious.
I think it's because I have OCD.
I'm curious with kind of bouncing around all these different styles. How did you kind of put yourself out there? Was there, because mural work is, you sent me a few murals, and those are typically pretty hard to come by, or to find businesses that, accept muralists.
Not at all.
Not at all?
You make them want you. No, I've done 77 in 2 years.
Really?
I retired it last year.
Yeah. Why did you retire it?
Tell people, and that's, I think, the disconnect. Huh?
Why did you retire it?
Say it again.
Why did you retire?
Why? I mean, I'd already done that part of my life. I leave it for a younger generation. I'm almost 40. I have 2 kids, and I don't want to be pigeonholed into just one type of art form. And what happened is that I became so prolific in the mural world that that was all I was able to do. And it's murder. It hurts. Those 2 walls I sent you, I did in 3 days, and they're 30-foot walls. And then it's hard. It's
Mm-hmm.
just hard. And I think murals are very much ego. I can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody go take a picture in front of a mural, but they don't know who the artist is. So what I mean when I say it's ego is I needed to prove something to myself, so I painted a wall. It was not a good business decision. It didn't help me grow my business. It didn't help me bring in any interest into Kollet Originals. It was a wall, and it's beautiful. It's there for everybody else, but it was ego driven. And I did that big of a wall just to prove to myself I could. So I needed to get that part of me away and do what really makes me happy. And it wasn't based on narcissism or how big I can go or what I can do and let me peacock, you know? So I sit here and I finger paint all day and that was it. But so you asked about the ebb and flow and how you switch genres. And I think that that's necessary, not just for you, but it's vital for your audience. It's vital for them to watch you move in between animals and portraits and black and whites and colors and pencils and paints. They're on the journey with you. So you're all moving like one big entity. And so it's much funner to do the dance around the ballroom instead of one straight line. So I do it just as much for me as I do for my friends that are with me. You know, if I did a rooster every day, they'd get bored. If I
Okay.
did a koi every day, they'd get bored. Yeah.
So kind of going into
Pretty
your
soon, though, what happens though, Justice, is your commissions dictate where you're going to go. I'll get a commission that tells me they want a black and white pencil portrait, and so that's what I'm going to do tomorrow instead of a finger paint. You see what I mean? So like they kind of gets dictated by the audience.
I got that for a little bit over the summers when I started getting a high volume of commissions. And I had maybe I think 15 commissions over the course of like maybe 2 months.
Sure.
And that kind of dictated my art page for a long portion because it was just what everybody was. I didn't have time to do my own artwork for a little while here. It was just what everybody was telling me, and I was getting paid to paint. So of course I'm going to take it.
Sure.
So it's weird to kind of bounce out of that. And I was kind of taking those commissions as art prompts,
Mm-hmm.
especially I go through really big phases of having tons of motivation and like a bunch of different thoughts all over the place to know the hardest creative block that you can imagine, like where I can't paint a face, I can't paint, come up with original ideas. So it's nice to get commissions, but at one point it was
Sure.
overwhelming with the amount of commissions that I was getting, where it was only being dictated by what people were saying, kind of how you felt with the mural work.
Yeah. And
Um,
I got that way with my pencil portraits. I got to the point where, you know, I was doing a lot and it felt like work. And anytime it starts to feel like work, I get out because then the product is deteriorated. It's not as fun
mhm.
for the recipient. I mean, you know, if you have an assignment that you're just not vibing with, you don't give it your all. And so I became a lot more selective with my commissions. If I'm not feeling it, we're just not doing it. I do counter offer. I love what you have, but here's how I want to approach it. And either they do or they don't vibe with it.
Mhm.
But I know what you're talking about.
Kind of want to get into your finger paintings a little bit because that's kind of what you've been known for a little more recently. Um, how did
Sure.
you get into the latex finger painting?
So I got mad. I got really mad about a month and a half ago. I was out front. I got in this fancy little neighborhood in Texas when I moved. And I was spray painting something. Somebody called me white trash. I'm like, oh no, you didn't. Because I was spray painting in the front yard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, y'all about to see it. So I got mad. And anytime I get mad and I get emotional, something weird happens in my studio. And I'm streaming live on Facebook and I have my paintings on the floor. I normally I put 5 paintings in a room and I sit in the center and I paint them all as a carousel. I go all the way around painting them, and I level them all up. But this one day in particular, I was going through an emotional moment with my friends and family on Facebook, explaining to them what happened outside. And I said, I dress like this and I look like this and I do gritty things because I enjoy them, but that does not mean that I am trash. And all of a sudden, I put my hands in the paint and I just got into it. I mean, I did some Jane Fonda shit. I was just moving paint, sculpting, and I was just like body rolling in this damn paint. And I loved it. And it felt good. It felt really good because up until that point in my career, I have portrait artist. I am a portrait artist. That is what I've been doing for the past 5 years and made a shit ton of money doing it. But 2 months ago, I was triggered when somebody called me trash. And I decided I was going to fuck it up. And I did. And I was like, oh my God, this is cool. And everybody on Facebook was jiving with it too. And our internet's unstable. And so I started the white trash line, except for that's not really PR safe. So I relabeled it Rainbow Recyclables. I'm dying. It happened though, because I went on a mural run last year and I had some latex wall paint and I was pissed. So what you're seeing right now is you're witnessing a mental breakdown that just happened about 2 months ago and the come up that happens after it. So these are all fresh. I'll be on to something new. I was supposed to start back on spray painting this week, but I moved into this place called Hill Country in Austin. And I went outside to spray paint and set the camera up to catch some cute shit. And the wind up here is ferocious. I can't spray paint.
Broke up for a little bit here. Oh, are you back? We good?
I am back. So I was just showing TikTok. I had somebody chime in. They said they just showed up for the white trash line. And I was showing them, like, I go grocery shopping to UPS. I wear this everywhere. So I get treated poorly often.
So before the internet cut out for a second, you were saying that you were spray painting outside and the wind caught.
It's too windy where I'm at to spray paint. I was going to do some cool Banksy style street rat stuff, but it's just so fucking windy.
It is very windy where I'm at and very cold.
Where you at?
Michigan.
Ooh.
So
Blue and yellow, right? Blue and yellow?
Yeah, for U of M. All of the art, like all of the...
That's an artist thing.
all of the spray painting for my page so far, because I've only been painting for about a year and a half at this point. I started my art page in January of 2020, and I've always been doing art, but not full time, but consistently for about a year and a half. And my spray paint work, I wanted to really practice, and right now it is -5 degrees outside. And so, as you know, as soon as it gets a tiny bit under 50 degrees, very hard to work with spray paint. And so I had one really good TikTok it did okay. And I was getting a lot of criticism on the fact that I was having drips in my painting. And
I love a good drip.
It was driving me crazy because I literally can't.
I had a line called drip or something like that. I love that.
Some of the time I do forcibly do drips in my work, but there are some, and I might swivel you around to show you. Let's see if I can show you real quick. So I did these, and Amp over here.
Oh shit! Yeah.
He has.
Hey, do you mind if I show? Hey, stay right there. I want to show the people on TikTok world with us. He's showing us his artwork.
So we have
Riz. Show us the bottom row. Show us the bottom row.
We have Riz, we have Amp, we have Jack, and sorry, I'm trying to figure out the angles here. And we have Naya. And then, I have
I feel like the females are underrepresented. I'm just gonna call you out. You're hitting.
Well, one of them's an alien. One of them is a robot.
I'm so fucking with you.
We don't have any over here. But yeah, I have
Oh,
my
wow,
little art
saw that
studio.
picture.
So I've been working with spray paint for a little while here, or just a tiny bit. But I only got on TikTok because I saw two works that I did in Ann Arbor on somebody else's TikTok that went viral.
Nice.
And yeah, but drips and spray painting, they're spray painting is very hard to work with and very expensive from what I've gathered so far.
Especially Montana is the preferred can. And they're, yeah.
They're like
they're expensive.
$8 to $9 a can.
Yeah. And you have to wait like a week to get them.
Really? Why?
You have to have, I've always had them shipped from Amazon. It takes like a week.
Oh, there's a spot in a few places. I know that it's in New York. I know it's in Chicago, and there's one in a city near me, Royal Oak, my hometown. And it's called Blick Arts, and they sell all of the spray paint cans that you need.
Oh, okay. I've heard of Blick. They didn't have that where I was from, but since I moved to Texas, it's been COVID, so I haven't really left.
So yeah,
but like I told you, the whole spray paint thing, I do it on canvas now. I don't really fuck with the walls too much. Yeah.
Canvas was just so expensive. I do right now I practice my spray painting on plywood boards.
Mm-hmm.
It's
so what if I told you could get gallery canvases for the cost of your plywood?
Where?
Michael's Pro Pack. They just started doing it about a year ago. They offer professional gallery canvases. I'll show you and walk you through it, but I only do my artwork on professional canvases because I'm planning on, I always have the intention it's going to be the next Mona Lisa. So I treat him with that respect from the beginning in order to command my intention the whole way through. Plywood is good, but from my experience in Florida, it warped because we had a lot of humidity there. I don't know what's happening in Michigan. So
they warp it.
Speak to that.
They warp as well. Right now, a lot of these pieces that I've been working on have just been like practice pieces to kind of get my spray painting up because there's not a lot of legal walls that you can practice on in Michigan. There are maybe 3 legal walls. And I think
canvases, say it again.
There aren't very many legal walls to practice, and I noticed that canvases were very expensive. Like the canvases the largest canvas that I sell is typically a 3x4 foot canvas because that's the only one that fits in my car. And at that point,
well, you're at a perfect place because anything bigger than that you can't ship. So it's fine. The 4 foot by 5 foot you can't ship. They cost $600 to ship, and at what point you've cut out. They have to go by freight, and so you cut out a huge margin of your base if you're charging $600 for shipping. So you're at a good spot. The 3x4s are nice.
Yeah, the 3x4s fit in my back seat. The 3x4s fit right in my back seat if I try my very hardest, and so I work with those, but those are about $50 a canvas, unless they're on sale, and then you can get them for maybe.
I think you can get them for $24 right now.
Okay.
I think I buy hundreds of them and just stack them here and keep them and cycle them, but you got to get the Pro Pack, and sometimes, and it's free delivery too. They deliver them to your house.
Nice. Let's hop into some of these paintings that you have sent me. If you would like, we'll choose 3. That is pretty standard. Let's go with one of the murals of your choice. Let's go with the koi fish, and let's go with the guitar that you did.
What do you want to start with?
We can start with the koi fish and then choose a mural of your choice, and then we'll do the guitar. But we'll start with the koi fish, move to one of the murals of your choice, and then move to the guitar.
Gotcha.
So,
koi.
So how big is this koi fish?
4 foot by 5 foot.
Oh my Lord. Is this one of your
fingers? I'm sending you the right one. Can you show me the picture of it? Oh no, that's a 30-inch by 40-inch. That's the one that went TikTok viral, mega viral before or something like that. And it was Radar Love. I was just vibing with Radar Love. And somebody got upset that I was wasting paint. So I made that video to show what I'm doing. Like, that's how I get my funky looking backgrounds. I get funky. And so the koi originally, I told you the finger painting, it all started recently.
Mm-hmm.
Koi have been in my portfolio for 4 years. They're one of the things that I'm known for. Koi, I always did when I was super emotional. And my base knew that. They're like, oh shit, what are you going through? And by the way, can I buy it? Because they knew I'm a happy person.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm going through some deep shit and I make a Koi, that was something they wanted in on. So Koi would happen once a year. Normally, if my cat died or something weird fucking happened, right? So they were done before by brush and with stippling, but dots. I call them titty sprinkles. They were just a bunch of sprinkles that made the koi fish.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're, I don't know. I mean, I love a good koi. Listen, my family's from Germany and we had a koi farm. And so I spent a summer in 12 working on a koi farm. I don't have an emotional attachment to koi. I just have experiences with koi, and they're strong little assholes. They're cute and they flow in the water, but they're so tough. They're just tough as nails. And the koi are great because you can hang them upside down, facing downstream or upstream, depending on where you're at in life. You could do sideways if you want, but I'm not down with that. So the koi are meant to be traveling upstream, you're fighting something in life, or downstream and you're riding the damn wave. I love my koi. I went on the longest tangent about that koi and I talked about titty sprinkles. That was a win.
You know, you gotta love a good koi. um,
That's passion.
which which one of the murals would you like to cover next? Would you like to cover the Rosa Parks one or the Tallahassee?
Okay, I like Rosa. I like Rosa.
And is that spray paint?
So yes. Well, no. She's half and half. So I'm a third generation painter, commercial house painter. So my family owned painting companies and did shit. So I went to work with my dad and my grandfather, and I learned how to use a paint sprayer and bid on jobs and rent scaffolds and scissor lifts and all this, construction world shit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I apply all of that to these big walls. Rosa is a two-sided wall. Rosa's on the right and RBG is on the left. And it is in Tallahassee, Florida, in a predominantly Black community that they call Frenchtown. And she's exquisite. And I love her very much. But the background on her is done with a paint sprayer, latex wall paint, one of those big wall sprayers. Now the inside of her is spray, so her face is spray paint.
Okay. And how long did this take you?
She's matched with RBG on the other side. And so the total job was 3.5 days. So if I split it between her, she took about a day and a half.
So how long do you usually spend on one of your days? Like how many hours would you say that you spent
13
on?
hours.
13 hours a day?
13 hours.
That is intense. Was that
it is, but if it go ahead.
Was that a specific request that they would want, or did you kind of prompt the idea for this mural?
Oh yeah, that one was approached. It was a commission job. And we worked on it probably for about 3 months before I laid my feet on the land and started working on the actual job. I'm in Texas, it's in Florida. So we did emails and Photoshops, and this is how it's going to look and colors and things like that. So by the time you get there, you've slept on that mural. You know the mural and how it's going to happen. And so you kind of bang it out pretty quickly because you know exactly where you're going. And you just go with a sure hand where you're applying the paint, and it's fine. But that was a cluster of murals over the holiday break in November, and then came back home to ride out the winter COVID. And I think I have one small run coming up next month back in Florida again.
How long would you say that it typically takes for the concept to fully get fleshed out for one of your murals?
I mean, 5 minutes for me. I know what I want to do. I have an immediate imagery based on what I think is appropriate, but then you get into the client's vision. And, I think at this point in my career, especially with murals, they know what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So if they come to me, they already kind of like what I do. So the conception of murals and things like that was never really the hard part. Some of the times I think that the hardest part was in the newer, when I was beginning, when I showed them a picture of what I wanted to do and they're like, oh, I don't know. I had to validate myself that, you have to grow your portfolio to show them what you're capable of before they believe and buy into you. So, but at this point right now, I don't really have any trouble with murals. It was just like, okay, you want Rosa Parks? Here's the picture. And I showed them a photograph of Rosa. Because if you've noticed, there's a lot of murals and photograph paintings of Rosa holding her placard for the mugshot. And given the community she was in and the accessibility of younger children seeing it, I wanted them to aspire to the charming, sweet Rosa, not mugshot Rosa. Like there's a story behind the woman, and it's not just that.
Mm-hmm.
So we chose happy older Rosa, and I love her. She's so sweet. I want to squeeze her cheeks.
And then let's move on to this last one. We'll go with the Guns N' Roses guitar that you got.
Oh, yes.
So what's the story behind this?
Like I told you, I swing around and I go everywhere, right? Well, I got here in Texas and I went to go order canvases. And we were just talking about cost on canvases. Michael's I only buy the top gallery quality canvases, but I'm pay attention to the cost as well. And Michael's is the plug for that. Well, I go to order them and shipment had been cut off from Japan and China because of COVID. So I'm screwed. At this point, I have the urge to paint and create, but I have nothing to paint on. I can do my ink portraits, but I'm an old Comic-Con artist and I have hundreds of ink portraits in a waterproof box in my garage that I still haven't sold. I've got all of the cast of characters from, all of the major comics, but I don't want to do ink. I want to paint. I decided that I was going to paint on wood, but I didn't want it to be regular shaped wood. So I bought a saw. And so it was a beast of burden. I couldn't get my canvases, but I wanted to do something edgy and cool. And so I cut out these guitar shaped canvases and then I painted them. And then I was like, that's great. They're painted and they're pretty, but I think they should be shiny. So I decided to fuck with resin for the first time. So I don't know. I played around this past summer. I cut wood, I airbrushed it, and then I poured resin, and those happened. And they are exquisite. The cost and time on making them isn't a good business model. So I only made a dozen of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, all right, we got to stop this because this is a passion project and it's not good for business. So we're going to stop that.
Looking at the picture, you almost had me fooled. I thought it was an actual guitar here.
I know. I own that guitar. I have a whole bunch of guitars because originally, because I love music so much, I used to paint on stage with bands. If they had a broken drum or a broken guitar, they'd give it to me and I'd paint on the back of it and I'd sell it. I'd repurpose the instruments. I had music shops that had stuff that was abandoned. They'd give to me, drum heads and stuff. So I've always painted on instruments, but then I got to Austin and I can't find the instruments because there's so many bands. Everybody wants to play music here. Everything is high priced. Even if you go to a secondhand store to buy an acoustic guitar, they're $200. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to take my guitars and trace them. And so that's the problem that I have, though. They looked so good and so clean that people didn't feel like they were art. They almost felt manufactured. So it was a blessing and a curse. I performed something and I did it exquisitely, but it's almost so good and so nice that I can't sell them at a good price point. My house looks great. I got 10 little guitars everywhere.
So talking about price point, what is a standard range? I don't want to say like a standard price for you, but a standard range. Like what's
there
like
is a standard range and you should be comfortable talking about it. You charge by the hour and never fall in love with your pieces. The ultimate thing that we need to teach artists is this is a job. This is a business. You are fortunate to be doing what you love. But to have a good business mind, you need to make the appropriate amount of money that you are worth at it. So standard range for me is 150 to 400 an hour. Depends on how much I put into it, how safe I am, if it's a mural price or if I'm sitting at my desk minus my materials plus shipping. There's some variables there. And then you give yourself a $25 an hour raise every 6 months because you earned it, because you got better. If you're doing everything correctly, you've earned it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think taking the stigma and teaching an artist how to do business is where I come in. I give lectures on this to young artists, and that's why I was dubbed an art activist, because I believe that we have to have value and show our worth, but we've also got to know what that is and be able to identify it. So it is okay to talk about that. So anyways, 150 to 450 an hour, depending on those variables. It kind of depends. The higher version of that is going to be when I'm on a mural and I'm 30 feet in the air.
Mm-hmm. I have both of those issues that you that you talked about. I have the issue that I fall in love with my pieces and I do not want to sell them unless it's specifically a commission. Mm-hmm. But that's typically the emotional nature of my personal pieces. So mm-hmm. I kind of in my head classify my artwork into two ranges.
Oof.
There are like my personal artwork, which is typically driven by my mental state at the time. And that's how I got in, like, my first piece that, like, I did that really resonated with people was the one that got me into an art gallery. And as much as I wanted to, like, sell that one in the gallery, I got it to the gallery, and it didn't end up selling within the 2-week span of the exhibition, which honestly made me really happy because of the fact that I knew that I got it back. And, like, you probably shouldn't want your pieces not to sell. And then another piece that I did recently was my first oil painting. It was a self-portrait. And that one also took into account. And like, but then I also have like the commission or like the other side of the coin, which are my not so personal pieces. And those I'm, okay, push them out, do whatever you want with them, take them. But the ones I feel like are my best work are those like super personal pieces where I do not want to part with them. And that's where...
Those are your best work, and those are what people want from you. So I'm about to blow your mind. If you video your best in the world, you go back and watch the fucking video. You know, you have to separate yourself because listen, everybody wants you. They want your passion, they want your love, they want your energy in that painting. So they want your best work. They don't want the stuff that you're willing to just give them. So you have to never fall in love. Never fall in love. Only one night stands, okay? Never fall in love. But yeah, you got pictures. The further you get into your career, the more that you'll get into. I will, if you ask me about a painting, I will get starry-eyed, almost cry, and I will go back to the moment and how I felt painting that painting for you. I hold on to that. That piece doesn't mean that to me. And so I can learn now how to save a little bit of the spice for me and a memory. In the videos, I can go back and watch. I'm like, oh, I really love Jasper. Jasper sold last night. I'm going to miss him. I remember that. So I'm going to blow your mind a little bit. I don't do gallery shows at all, ever. The game changed. Galleries started vetting us by how big our social media following was, art activists, and they also take 40 to 50% of your earnings.
Yeah, so I realized that.
What happens is,
I realized that, and it wasn't to a point where I was comfortable really hyping up my price so that I could get back the money that I thought I deserved, because they took their cut. And in my opinion, they promised more than they kind of put out, and like their end of the effort. So I've kind of after that moment, I stayed to myself, but it was a nice like little gold participation trophy that I get to say.
I mean, I think we all need to have that feather in our bonnet, you know, and I get it. Because of how I started, very timid and scared coming out of rehab, I owe a lot to my base, and I received a lot from them cheering me on and saying, you know what, you go girl, you can do this. And so I have kind of been dubbed the blue collar artist in that I don't want to go to a gallery and take a $400 painting and make it 700 because that just isn't cool. Plus, you know what? I can get to more people by posting it on Twitter, Instagram, and say, you know what, screw the gallery. But everything's gone. It's so weird because, like I said in the beginning, when I was 18, everything was on the internet and everybody was going to the computer and I don't know, here we are, and I'm putting everything on the internet, and nobody's going to galleries anymore. But they were vetting us because of social media. And I went when I got out of rehab, I tried to apply to get to a gallery, and I got turned down by like 15 galleries 5 years ago. And I tried, and I swear to God, I tried, and it killed me. And so I focused on social media. And then those same galleries came back around. I'm like, no, bitch. Edit that out. Or don't.
It's
Yeah, I don't do galleries because I want to stay true to my people. I want normal people to have fancy shit. I'm a normal person, and I don't want my stuff to ever be so expensive that I have maybe 10 buyers. I want everybody to have pretty shit, you know?
There was the high price points are kind of what turned me because, you know, as you said, it gets hard to learn how to charge for your art. And when you see, I looked online at the gallery to see like what was comparable to or comparable pricing. And some of these pieces are selling for $5,000, $6,000, $10,000.
They're not. They're not.
And that's
those same artists are calling me to figure out how to use social media.
And that's just the crazy thing about it is that you have this line of people that are
disconnect.
You have this line of people that are going and saying my artwork is worth $10,000 when you know well enough that they're not charging that same price anywhere else, and even if they are, it's not selling as well. Like the exposure that I think.
Yeah, you speak to something too. I'm completely transparent. My prices are posted because I utilize Facebook Marketplace to begin with before I even have, and I still use Marketplace to this day. I am completely transparent. Most of them are $450, $50 shipping, $500 out the door. I do payment plans and layaway. We're done, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I go to a gallery and charge $800, that's going to look tasteless, and they're going to know, and they're not going to buy from the gallery. They're going to wait till it comes back into public domain and buy it from me there. So it just kind of, they ended up working against each other. But I've always said that I enjoy making art so much. I don't want to make 5 pieces a year that sell for $50,000 each. That may sound lucrative and fun, but it's not, because I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because I wake up every morning lit like a mother, and I cannot sleep until I am fully exhausted. Money in my pocket isn't going to cause exhaustion. If anything, it's sending me right back to drugs. So I don't know. I'm so anti-gallery and just teaching an artist how to make appropriate amount of money so you can eat steak instead of ramen, but that you can also work. And what does that equation look like for you? I don't know. I'd like to help you, but I won't help anybody get to a gallery. That's bougie. I'm not that. I don't know if you picked up on that. We're white trash.
I don't need another koi fish. I don't need another koi fish right now.
Rainbow recyclables.
Let's hop into the last set of questions. I think I have 2 for you of questions that they're kind of general questions. How do you keep your creativity outside of the box? I know that, you stated earlier that when
I don't see a box.
Like, how do you keep yourself from not getting pigeonholed in like one set or form or subject that you kind of cling to? I know that you said you did a lot of portraits and then you switched it up. And how do you keep yourself
you spoke to it once when you said that you liked the idea of commissions being prompts for you. I let society and the world be a prompt for me. So when RBG died, or let me give you this, Stevie Ray Vaughan. No. How do I keep from being pigeonholed? I flow with everybody else. When
Okay. So we were talking about not getting pigeonholed is the last question I remember.
Okay. So, I mean, I just kind of go with the wave. If somebody asks for something and I think it's a cool idea, I paint it. I go a lot with cues of society. If something's going on that's irrelevant, or I see something that I think that I could do better, or I mean, you know how passion works. Some things just get us fired up. And I trust those impulses, whatever they are and however weird it may seem. I don't ever discount my ideas or devalue myself. If I have an idea, I almost always follow it through until perfection. So I may start finger painting, but in 2 weeks, I'll be a master of fucking finger painting because I just have OCD. That's part of my addiction is I lack impulse control,
Mm-hmm.
but I also go hard on something. So I may see a shiny object, but then I'm going to have 10,000 shiny objects. And so that's just kind of how my artwork developed. I have an idea in the middle of the night, and then I'll wake up at 2 a.m. fired up about this idea, and I'll go hard all day, that day, the next day, until I'm just completely exhausted. And I've taken that idea just as far as I can. And I sit down for about 2 days and go through a form of almost depression. Sadness, emptiness, like a shell of a person. And then the cycle happens all over again. Something fires me up deep down in the pit of my soul, and I'm back to the races.
I like that. I like that draw of emotion kind of firing you up and getting you back out there. I had one other question, but the disconnect made me forget what that second question was. Do you have? Let's end off on a note of just general advice that you'd like to give to young artists, if you'd like to go towards the route of your art activism, or if you'd like to just go in creativity as a form of advice.
Yeah. So I think that it's always important with a young artist to talk about imposter syndrome. And for those who are not artists to hear what that is, it basically means that there's a standard in the art community or in our heads that we don't feel like we can achieve, that we will never hit that pinnacle of art greatness. And so art imposter syndrome basically makes us stop before we start. And that is an injustice to the world. I believe that there is somebody who needs to see every type of art. So there's a different shoe for every person. So finger painting or stick models or model figure cars or wind chimes. There's literally an audience for everything. But I think the biggest thing that a young artist needs to overcome is that worry that nobody is going to look or that they're not good enough. Because all of that is founded and based in ego and narcissism and vanity. If you're worried about how silly or how bad you're going to look, that's just as bad as worrying if you're going to look good. Forget all that. Your job and your duty as an artist is to make shit and put it in front of people and give everybody a mental break. Give everybody a moment of solace in the crazy world that we're in right now. So if you're an artist, get over yourself, get over the imposter syndrome, do your shit, show the world, because the world needs more beauty, and that is your job. So stop thinking and do it in a way that makes sense financially. Charge a fair price if you're going to part with it. Don't fall in love with it, all of those good things. But I think that if you have jazz hands, you need to use them, man.
Well, I think that is great advice. You have been listening to another episode of the Clean Palette Podcast. I have been your host, Justice Johnson, and with us today we had Kollet Hardman, otherwise known as Kollet Originals. Go follow her on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, anywhere that you can find beautiful art. She is there. And if you would like, you can follow the podcast page on Instagram. It is Clean Palette Podcast. Or if you'd like to follow my own art, it is Justice Tries on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok now. But until next week, stay creative.